Hi, friends. Hello, the world. Welcome back to this episode of Tools for Transitioning Humanitarians. And today I want to talk to you about how to feel powerful. And I feel like it has been my mission since I started my coaching journey or coaching work is how I can get as many humanitarians as possible to feel powerful in the most positive right way and to access their greatness and to be living the life they want to be working on the cause they want to. And how can we do that? And how can we reduce that feeling of powerlessness? This is really the work that I have been doing, the work that I want to do, and also this is the main theme of my retreat that is coming up in April next year in Kyrgyzstan, where we'll be discussing with humanitarians as to how to successfully transition and what are the ingredients of that. So if you haven't signed up for that, absolutely message me for signing up, and I would love to have you there to discuss this topic even more in details. So I wanted to talk to you today about how we can feel powerful and how we can create space for our um, own ideas, our own unique creativity, our own way of contributing and making impact in the world. How can we give more space to that? How can we give more space to thriving instead of surviving? Because one of the things that I have really realized as I have observed a lot about life and how things work, going through a lot of suffering of my own, I have realized this thing is that we suffer for one of two things. Either we suffer for surviving, for suppressing our greatness, suppressing our power, suppressing our um, amazingness, uniqueness, and we suffer for that, or we suffer growing those things. We suffer growing our greatness. We suffer growing, nurturing, and communicating and being misunderstood, being judged, and still keep going to what we really want to. We suffer for that. And I really wanted to encourage and invite every one of us to be at least suffering for the right cause or for the thing that you really believe makes sense, right? So, one of the ingredients of how to feel that we are actually in charge and we can do the things that we want to in life and we can actually do anything we want to in life and our employer does not define what we can do if we don't want the employer to define, or we can even define all the things of how we want to create the impact even working for the employer, right? So the question really is how we can become more powerful than we allow ourselves to be currently. And I was thinking, what is the best way to introduce this topic where you really understand the importance of it, or why should you feel powerful? And the answer that keeps coming up to me is that the reason why we need to feel powerful is so that we don't keep spending our brain energy, precious energy, our life's energy on feeling powerless. Because when we keep feeling powerless about the situation around us, about what's going on, about other people, whatever it is, then we're so much prone in the survival mode and we just keep going from one thing to another. We just keep complaining, venting. We just keep seeing how everything is wrong, how things are not working. And we just spend so much energy and time in there to a point that we burn out, to a point we get depressed, to a point that we don't really see the point of all the things. Right? So, therefore, how can we find the antidote to that? And what is the antidote to feeling powerless? Is feeling powerful. Now, when I talk about feeling powerful, I think a lot of people have very negative associations with feeling powerful. Maybe we have experienced people using their power in the wrong way. Maybe we have experienced people bragging about their power, being arrogant about their power, manipulating with their power, right? So we know a lot of those instances of how power is used negatively. But we also know, probably many of us, how power is used positively, how power has allowed making decisions. And when the decisions are made, things started moving. The aid is being delivered, or people who really needed to get their contract extended, they got their contract extended, whatever it is, right? So are also a lot of instances where feeling powerful or someone using power to make the difference, to create the results we wanted. Those also examples exist. And I would like you to use those examples as ways of, or like if even if maybe you have examples of people that you know that you find very powerful in the positive, in the impactful way, and use their example as like ways how we can feel powerful. Now, I wanted to give you specific ways you can feel powerful. And I think that's maybe something that's missing and that we don't really like give so much attention to it. In like one of the easiest way that you can think about how to feel powerful is obviously seeing other people who you admire, who are doing great work in the world, or who are making the impact. You can take examples from those and say, yes, I want to be powerful in making changes in that way, right? That's what like one of the easiest way you can do that. The other way that you can feel powerful is really looking at how are the ways you are feeling powerless currently and then reverse engineer that. And that's, I think, the something that we don't often think about, but it's true that because when we are in like powerless position and we are so much in the suffering, we don't really notice how we can actually get ourselves out of it, how we don't need to give our power away to the thing that we are feeling powerless about, right? We don't really have access to that type of um, level of understanding of ourselves. So that's why it's important that we zoom out and look at our lives and see where we are giving our power away to things. And the way that I want to explain to you even more um, understandable and more clear is the way that we give our power away to others or to organizations is we make them in charge of us, right? Or we make ourselves dependent on them. That's when we give our power away. So power is the agency to decide, power is the agency to act, to do something, right? And then we give that away to the other organization or to other people. So I would like to reverse engineer feeling powerless in three ways so that you can see, like, at least structurally, you can see how you might be giving away power um, to these three different things and then claim back or take back the power that you're giving away to them. In other words, if you're making yourself dependent on them, decide not to be dependent on them anymore, but rather taking back that dependency and making yourself independent, right? So this is really how we're talking about feeling powerful. So one of the ways that we have oftentimes done this and we don't even recognize that we're doing it, how we're making ourselves powerless and robbing ourselves of that feeling of powerful is when we give our powers to our stories, right? And the way that we do that is we say, well, I can't really do that. I can't really go and pursue this thing. I have never been able to do that in the past. Whatever it is, like we have a lot of stories or maybe excuses that we tend to use as ways to not being able to live the life we want to, right? So that's when we give our power away to that story. The story is so powerful that it defines or dictates what we can and cannot do. And then in that story, we can also say things like, well, even if I did, even if I could do that, it would take a long time. Or even if I could do that, it could be hard, right? Whatever it is. And then we forget, interestingly, that whenever we are saying that the future, like the goal that we're wanting to pursue, we feel like it's hard and then we forget that our current situation is hard as well, but we don't really pay attention to that. We rather go and think about how hard it will be, and therefore we stop ourselves from going there, and that's how we give away our power, excuse me, to our to that story, right? So we're making that story more powerful than what we actually can and cannot do, and start exploring it. And then we just say that, well, we can't really do that, right? So let me give you a specific example, is that one of my clients wanted to lose weight and also like deal with stress properly, and then also start relationships, because she hadn't been in a relationship in some time, because she kept prioritizing her work a lot of the times. And when we were talking about how to achieve that, I can see that she's so making powerful her story of she cannot lose weight, right? So her story of losing weight is hard. It's almost impossible. I have tried it for so many years. All of these stories just create this blockage for us to feel powerful over our weight, right? In other words, we are in charge of what weight we want to have and what weight we can actually get to. We are making our story of how we can't make that happen, that story very powerful, instead of the story that we could make powerful, which is, I actually can and know how to do this, and I'm going to get it done. Right? So therefore, you can see that depending on which story we're making powerful, we can either keep going and working towards our goal, or we just don't even start to begin with, right? And therefore, we keep making ourselves feeling powerless towards that goal, towards that desire, right? So one of the ways and best ways to feel powerful is when we actually recognize that we can create the outcomes we want to. So in this example, that if we really believe that we like, even if we don't believe that we're good at this, because our past evidence may show that we're not good at it, but at least allowing ourselves to, what if this time I actually make this happen, so I can show to myself that I can do that. So I can show to myself that I am the person who creates the outcomes that I want to. That way we can create this feeling of powerfulness, so much so that we start then realizing that we can do all the other things we want to, right? So the example that I have from my own life is that I always thought that I could only like work for the organization, and I would never be able to do something on my own. And then once I started realizing that I actually have all the abilities to figure out, find out, and test it and apply it and create the results I want to, then it gave me so much freedom to say, oh my God, if I can do this, then I can do anything else I want. right? And of course, you can always start with something small. I'm not saying start with something big. That's why the best way you can make yourself feel powerful is take something very tangible and something very small and start implementing and creating evidence for yourself how you are actually powerful. You are the person who can decide and then makes this happen. Because in my mind, most powerful people that I admire are people who say this is what they're going to do, and then they go and do it and then create that evidence for themselves or for other people, right? The same goes for ourselves, is when we want to feel powerful, we want to look at what are the stories that we're making powerful currently, and then how can we make ourselves powerful instead of our story, right? Whatever the story that's dominating how we live our life, or how we're frustrated, how we are not getting the results we want to, the outcome we want to, or the life we're not living, whatever those stories are, in order to make them powerless, the stories, we can start doing things and showing to ourselves the opposite evidence to how we can actually create what we want. In that way, we get to be so powerful. We feel so powerful that we can actually then start thinking, okay, I also don't need to fear about losing my job because I know how to get another one. I know how to get even better one. It doesn't mean that we will leave our job, right? But just the feeling of that we can feel of feeling powerful gives us so much space of having equal conversations with other people, having discussions with other people where we're not coming from this fearful place. Oh my God, I better say the thing that they want to hear. Otherwise, I may be in trouble and therefore I may lose my job. And then that's not probably how we want to show up at workplace as well, right? So that's one way that we can feel powerful all of the time, is guaranteeing to ourselves how we can create whatever we want to, not out of pressure, but out of curiosity, um, instead of making our I can't do this, I can't do that stories powerful. The second one that I really want you to pay attention to, where you are making yourself powerless in other people powerful, right? So this is one of the very, very common ways that we make ourselves powerless, where we could actually make ourselves powerful. And the way that we often do it is that we are afraid of their judgment, right? So we don't say the things that we want to say, maybe, or maybe sometimes even we say things in the diluted manner. We don't even talk about our achievements because we don't want to make other people feel bad about themselves. And therefore we like belittle ourselves, or we say a little about ourselves, right? So whatever it is that we're afraid of other people's judgments, negative judgments, and therefore we don't really make ourselves powerful. We like lessen ourselves a little bit, or we tend to be then a bit pretentious and not really say the things because we're afraid of their harsh judgments, or we're afraid of their negative judgments, right? And these are the ways where we are not feeling powerful. Now, these are great occasions that we see very often in our relationships, right? And these are great occasions for us to practice feeling powerful. And the way that we can feel powerful is to every time decide to show up and say the things that we would have said otherwise if we weren't afraid of the other person or their judgment, right? Maybe not the other person, like maybe we're not afraid of them, but with their judgment. And do that every time we have an occasion. And that way we feel more powerful, and we start feeling also like we can show up as who we are, do the things that we want to, whatever it is. We start feeling it more and more because we're not making their judgment powerful, right? So we're not giving our power to their judgment and making ourselves powerless, but rather, okay, if I wasn't afraid of their negative judgment, if I wasn't afraid of them feeling bad, how would I show up? What would I say? What are the phrases I would say? How would I say no to that? Or how would I say I can do that, but only then, whatever it is, right? So use that like me seeing also setting boundaries becoming more easier for you. And you really start feeling that powerfulness because you start also exploring what is actually your true opinion. How do you want to say that? How do you want to present it? How do you want to come across? Right? Who do you want to be in that conversation? And I love these type of questions because they give me every time an opportunity to explore myself in a new light and showing up in a new light. So those are great instances of feeling powerful. And the other, like in the similar context, the other way that we can feel powerful is that us pursuing to go to what we want to, even if when other people are not really on board on this or don't really want to support us, whatever it is, us still feeling like we want to go for what we want, feeling committed, determined, those are great feelings of feeling powerful. Believing in what we're going to create, believing in what we're going to do, no matter what others are saying. Those are great ways for us to feel powerful as well. And of course, I'm not suggesting that do it in the way that's like, okay, watch me, I will prove it to you kind of way, but rather genuinely wanting to pursue what we want to, no matter whether other people are on board on this or not, right? And the third way is that we usually get very powerless about, which is working in systems or industries and keep expecting systems to be just, keep expecting systems to be doing things that the system does not or cannot do, and then feeling powerless. And in those type of situations, how can we feel powerful? And the reverse engineering of that is instead of giving so much power to that system, meaning allowing those systems dictate our experience of working for the cause, rather us dictating our experience of working for the cause, right? Because think about this, is that we want to work for the cause, right? The cause might be to help people after the war hit or after the climate change or whatever the catastrophe that people were affected by, and we want to be of service to them, or we want to fight for the justice, we want to fight for the freedom of journalists or freedom of free speech or freedom or equal rights of women or persons with disabilities, whoever it is that the cause that we're fighting for, right? That's what we want to do. And then the systems are some of the means to assist those people, right? Those are the means that allow us, or maybe sometimes does not allow us, to assist those people. Now, therefore, we often get ourselves into this powerless position where we allow that system to dictate how we feel, to dictate how we get frustrated, disappointed, and all of those things. Now, of course, I'm not saying that you don't be or we shouldn't, because obviously there are lots of good reasons to be disappointed about, and I totally understand it. But at the same time, our goal is to be working on that cause, right? And if we want to continue working on that cause, then we can't allow that system to be destroying our energy level or robbing our energy and not having enough energy then working on the cause, right? So therefore, we need to start understanding that can we really expect the things that we're expecting from that system to deliver? Especially after having been disappointed or frustrated for however many years for many of us, right? So then understanding that, well, can we really expect that from that system? And if we cannot, then what can we expect and how can we use that to work for the cause? Right? That's one way of looking at it. And sometimes when I say that, people misunderstand me and saying that, well, I can't just accept things, or if I accept, that means I'm being compliant and I don't want to be compliant with. And I totally understand that. But accepting what is real, what we can expect, does not mean that we become now compliant with it. We are being realistic, like many of us want to be, is to say, okay, this is the system that it can give me. This is what it cannot give me. Then how else can I make sure that I still work on the cause and get the help delivered, or fighting for the cause, whatever it is that we're doing? How can we continue doing that in the most effective way? I know it's not easy, but at least we are understanding where we are making ourselves so powerless and what can we do about it. And one of the ways that we understand also that if we keep feeling powerless, then we will not have energy or any effort left for the cause that we're working for, right? So that's why if we don't want to allow the system to take away all of our power or take away all of our energy and drain us, if we don't want that system to do that, then we need to start understanding that we are powerful enough to continue working on that cause, no matter how the system is set up currently. Now, think about that. If we were able to do that, if we were able to say that, okay, no matter how the system is set up, I'm going to feel powerful, or I'm going to do everything within my power to do whatever I can to work on that cause, then how would I feel myself? Probably tired as well, but excuse me, tired in a good way, right? Because we have at least done everything we could. Instead of sitting around and feeling like, okay, things don't work, this doesn't work, that doesn't work. And then it's just like, it's the space that we don't want to be, especially for a prolonged period of time. Because what that does is also it robs us the belief that we can actually make something work, that we can change things. We just create more disbelief for ourselves that it's all like doomed thing and it can't work, whatever it is, right? And we don't want to be in those spaces because that will demoralize us, demotivate us, and we just want to continue being motivated and doing the things that really matters to us. So that's why one of the ways that we can create this feeling of powerful is when we really say that, okay, whatever the system is currently is how it is. I'm accepting as is. And then what can I do now, knowing what the system is? What can I do within my control? What can I do within the control of my team? What can we do still to make the things work for the cause that we're fighting for? And that way we feel powerful, having overcome the flaws of the system and still deliver the thing that we wanted to the people, instead of whining or complaining, venting about how things don't work. Now, I really want to invite with this episode to, for every one of you who is listening to me, watching me, is to allow yourself to brainstorm around at least 3 ways you can feel powerful about yourself, about your abilities, about what you can and cannot do. At least 3 ways you can do that and start implementing that. And the more you implement it, the more you realize how powerful you are and how much you can actually change and make the difference. Even if not in that environment, then you decide what to do and change an environment and go somewhere else and do that thing and start uh, creating this snowball effect for yourself, right? Because the way that I have done it at the time as a humanitarian is I kept searching for different ways and different ways to make the impact I wanted, right? And I have tried and exhausted a lot of the possibilities within that setting. And when I realized that I can't really make the impact that I want to, that is long lasting, like changing lives in the way that is sustainable. And then I realized that I wanted to do it with my coaching journey. And I have also, like, when I have realized that, I could have also said, oh my God, I can't really do that. I have never done this before. I can't really create this result. What if everything fails? What if everything doesn't work? All of this, I could stay in that place of powerlessness. But I chose to go for, I will do everything I can within my power, within my control to create the impact I want to. And I wanted to do that not only um, for the people that I really care about, but I also wanted to do it for showing or being example that this is possible, that we can actually access our power, our agency, our abilities anytime we want to, even when we're feeling powerless. We can get ourselves back from feeling powerless to feeling powerful by taking over the agency and deciding, is this how I want to do it? If not, how else can I do it? And then being always in charge of that instead of keep um, down spiraling to powerlessness that keeps continuing and continuing and then keeps us making so drained and losing energy. So, my dears, if you want to work on this, absolutely come coach with me. I would love to help you get to feeling powerful and making necessary changes so that you never feel dependent on the employer's way of dictating how you can work for the cause, so that you always know how you can dictate your own way of creating impact, your own way of working for the cause, how you can always be powerful about your stories instead of powerless about your stories, and how you also decide what to do with the systems that are in place and how to use them, or maybe despite whatever they are, you can still get and work for the cause that you really care about. So that's why I really want you to explore feeling powerful. So have a beautiful week. I'll talk to you very soon.